Good evening and welcome to the January 5th, 2012 TV Toastmasters meeting. We have a really good meeting in store tonight for all of you. We actually are going to have 3 speakers. We will have table topics. We will hear evaluations for the prepared speeches. We also have some guests in the studio with us here tonight. We have John Previtz, Dave Kramer, Frank Downey, and G. And G and Dave Kramer are helping us on camera. I'll acknowledge them again at the end of our meeting today. Our Toastmaster for this evening is our Vice President of Education for the TV Toastmasters Club, and she is going to take over control of the meeting. So help me welcome Michelle Hennekes.
Well, Happy New Year and welcome to the first TV Toastmasters meeting of the year. Great to see such a turnout. And for those of you at home, if you haven't made your New Year's resolutions, perhaps you're looking to better yourself this year, hang out, watch our show, and then maybe by the end you'll want to learn more about what TV Toastmasters is all about. So as Steve mentioned, we have an exciting meeting in store. So we're going to start out with one of our guests has offered to be the grammarian and the word of the day. So Frank, if you could come up and give the word of the day.
Sure. Hello, and I'm Frank Downey, and the word of the day is clarity, and I'm going to read off this because I don't know what the well, I do know the meaning of it. Clarity, the definition is the state of quality of being clear as perceived by the eye or the mind, brightness or luster, free ambiguity or confusion. And I'm going to use it in a sentence for you, and it's the clarity of the diamond tells you how clear the diamond is. The clarity of your goal reveals your likelihood of reaching it. And I'm going to put that right here. So, and again, if we use that word, we get points for that. Is that correct, Carol? Okay. All right.
And also to bring a little bit of clarity to what else Frank will be doing during the meeting today, he'll be also looking for crutch words that are being used, such as ums and ahs, and any misuse of wording during the meeting, and then he'll report that back at the very end. So challenge you to use the word clarity today. And now we have our beloved table topics, where we have the opportunity to practice our impromptu speaking, which we all know is something that we could use more and more practice because you never know when you're going to be put in the hot seat. So today our table topics master is Mr. Steve Ahrenholz, our president. So Steve.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, our honored guests with us this evening here in the studio and also looking in from home. The purpose of table topics in Toastmasters is to help us develop our impromptu speaking skills. Basically, what we're going to do is I have a couple of questions that I'm going to be addressing to the studio audience here, and then I will call upon someone to provide their response to my question. What they'll have to do is listen to the question. They'll have to think about what kind of a response they want to give, and then they will give us their response. And I will be calling them up here. They basically have the amount of time it takes them to get up here to prepare. But it's probably one of the types of speaking we use the most in our day-to-day lives, because often we're asked our opinion or to summarize something or to give an overview of something else, and we really haven't had much time to prepare for it. Developing that skill is something that I find is continually something I need to work on. Well, Michelle welcomed you to the first meeting of the year for TV Toastmasters. With 2012 being here, we are also in an election year, and I know that that's probably going to get rather wearing very quickly. They had the Iowa caucuses this last week, and I was listening to NPR, and they were talking to some of the people there about what their experience was having everybody in Iowa running all over the place for the caucuses. And one of the things that I heard was that citizens of Iowa received innumerable phone calls promoting the different candidates during the Iowa caucuses. I also learned that these calls are not subject to the do not call lists that exist for phone sales and solicitations for services or businesses. What I would like to know is, how will you deal with these campaign phone calls, which I'm sure will come with increasing frequency as the election draws closer? Shankar, would you come and give us your perspective on that?
Thank you, Steve. Wish you all a Happy New Year. And certainly talking about the elections, I think Steve's got a new motion, something's going on for it. Personally, if there are these campaign calls that I'm receiving, I would actually want them to ask a couple of questions like, how would a particular candidate help in my lifestyle or in my career or in my personal life? And I would take this opportunity to understand the campaign contestants better by what they answer to my question, because if every citizen in the country thinks about how each candidate can help himself or herself, then I think as a majority and as a democracy, they'll choose the right candidate. So I wouldn't really stop them from calling me. So, thank you.
Thank you, Shankar. I also find the caller ID is helpful because it tells you who's calling, and it's like, I don't think I'm going to pick that up. I don't recognize it. Some of the candidates that we've heard so far have promoted positions that would eliminate environmental regulations. Do you have any concerns about doing away with laws that restrict what other people or industries can expose the public to? And if you do have some concerns or you don't have concerns, why or why not? Dave? If any of you want me to repeat the question, I can also do that.
Fine idea.
Okay. Some of the candidates have promoted positions that would eliminate environmental regulations. Do you have any concerns about doing away with laws that restrict what other people or industries can expose the public to?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Do I have concerns? I think I have concerns about just about everything that a politician talks about doing, because they have proven themselves to say one thing to get elected, and in many cases, not all, but many cases, totally different once they get elected. And I would say that in certain cases, especially the environment is at risk. We've got, for instance, on the Republican side, where they're not exactly known as the most green, but at one time, someone like Newt Gingrich did believe in cap and trade and things like that might encourage businesses to reduce their pollution. All of a sudden now he's against that. So if he's got to go reverse what he originally believed in just to keep the extremists in his party happy, yeah, I think there's reason for all of us to be concerned. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I think what happens too is some of them get elected and then reality hits. It's not as cut and dried as is sometimes presented. Kentucky is considering legislation that would allow casinos in their state. Do you think that Ohio will benefit as much from having casinos if all the surrounding states have them? And why or why not? Mary?
Well, the question, could you repeat that question?
Yes. Kentucky is considering legislation that would allow casinos in their state. Do you think that Ohio will benefit much from having casinos if all the surrounding states have them?
No, I don't. I honestly don't. Because if we start getting them surrounding all the states surrounding, it's just going to be like going to a football game. It's not going to be nothing. There's not going to be money made. Now, the governor thinks we're going to make money. And maybe every other governor will think they're making money. By my honest opinion, no, I do not think this is a good idea. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary. I think we'll do one more. Which do you think is better? A flat tax that everyone pays, or a tax system that taxes those with more at a higher rate? And depending upon which way you think, why do you embrace that perspective? Dean? Do you want me to repeat the question?
Please.
Okay. Which do you think is better, a flat tax that everyone pays, or a tax system that taxes those with more at a higher rate, and why?
That's a very complex question. The more you know about it, the more complex it becomes. As many of the pundits have said, if you raise the taxes on the rich, then you take away their ability to invest in jobs. If you have a flat tax, that will give every citizen the opportunity to pay into our economy as far as taxes goes. Today, 50% or less of the people do not pay taxes. So I agree with a flat tax on everyone. That way, everyone contributes to the tax system. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Dean. I'm going to adjourn our table topics portion of the meeting and hand control back to our Toastmaster. Michelle?
Thank you, Steve. I think you brought clarity to all of us how much of an exciting year we're going to have with all the political discussions. I'm just glad I wasn't called on during that. So now let's get to the exciting part of our meeting, the speakers. We have 3 speakers presenting today, 2 of our more experienced Toastmasters as well as one of our newest Toastmasters. So we're going to start with Sheila Mudd-Baker. And Sheila Mudd-Baker is a distinguished Toastmaster who has made a lot of New Year's resolutions, so she tells me, and has broken every single one, or nearly everyone. I shouldn't say everyone. So she posed the question, what has she learned by being a loser? So Sheila will be doing project number 8 from her Competent Communicator Manual, Getting Comfortable with Visual Aids. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech, and it is called Planning to Change Your Life. Sheila Mudd-Baker.
Like many of you, I plan to lose, at least 10 pounds. Only in specific places. Like many of you, I plan to be debt-free by the end of the year. Like many of you, I'm going to fail. I always do. Why do I fail? For the most obvious reason. I don't carry through. Now, anybody can carry through if they only have to do it for a minute. I can be the Toastmaster for a minute. And I'm done with my job. I can set a goal and I'm finished. But what if my goal is to run a marathon? Well, I better get on my shoes because I need the right shoes. Unfortunately, these are ancient and have big holes in them, so I need to get new shoes if I really want to run a marathon. I want to lose weight. Well, how do I lose weight? Diet and exercise. I hate diet and exercise, but I need to do one or the other. What if I wanted to really diet hard? I'd have to start eating smaller portions, much smaller portions. So maybe I should be using only smaller plates. What if I needed to really learn how to be a big thinker, a visionary? Maybe I ought to be reading some books about thinking big, being bigger, making great plans, actually achieving them. Now, the author of this book ran for 30 days, running more than a marathon, which is 26.2 miles, running more than that every day for 100 days. And then each day he'd give a speech or a workshop or a seminar. Gee, these shoes are really going to get beaten up, so I guess I do have to get new shoes. What if I want to save money? I want to be debt-free. How do I do that? Well, I might tear up my credit card. Well, maybe I won't tear it up, but it's not in here. I took it out so I wouldn't use it. What if I really wanted to make a change in my life? What if you want to make a change in your life? How do you do that? There have been a lot of books written about this. But Wayne Dyer, who is a psychologist, a guru, a writer of all sorts, says, make a resolution every day. Each day, make a new resolution, or you might make a set of them. For example, I do want to lose weight. I do want to run a marathon. What did I do today? I walked for an hour. It wasn't a big resolution, but I got myself up. I walked for an hour. I went and worked out, something I hate to do, but I did it anyway. And when it was done, I was much happier about what my stomach looked like at the end of the hour. Does that mean I'm going to do it tomorrow? Maybe, maybe not. But tomorrow I'll have some new resolutions. The next thing I did today was decide that I really had to do something to save money. So rather than use my credit card on those downtown Cincinnati parking meters, I went through my piggy bank and found enough quarters that I could park with cash rather than use my credit card. Actually, I'm saving money. I already had that money. I didn't use money I didn't have. So I have been looking at what I want to do and making the decision I want to do something different this year. I want to think outside of my usual box, which always seems to cause me to be strangled in fear. I get inside that little box of thinking and I say, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. It's the third day I've already broken my resolutions. I have to stop. So I can put on my shoes. I can get some new ones while I'm at it. And I can walk my way to a marathon. At this point, I can walk a whole hour very, very slowly. By May, I should be able to run very, very slowly, but run 26.2 miles. I should be able to lose 5 or 10 pounds because I know how to do it, but I haven't done it yet. So this would be a good year to get that 5 to 10 pounds. I know I can do it because I've lost 5 to 10 pounds hundreds of times, over and over and over. And I've also gained that 5 to 10 pounds on a regular basis. I can be debt-free because for most of my life I have been debt-free. So I know how to do it. The question is, what will I do today to make sure that I will do it? The secret to success? 1, 2, or 3 small things every day, consistently, and I might actually be healthy, wealthy, and wise. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheila. I like that idea, daily resolutions instead of New Year's resolutions. Our next speaker is Rick Barron. Rick is our current governor area and a former TV Toastmaster president. Rick has completed his Competent Communicator Manual and is now working on his Storytelling Manual, and he's working on Project The Moral of the Story. It's a 4 to 6 minute project, and it's titled Sometimes. Rick?
Thank you, Michelle. Do you have any kids? I've been blessed with 2 granddaughters, Mia, who's 15, and Anna, who's 11. And I've been able, or was able, to spend every weekend with Mia up until the time that she moved to Florida about 3 years ago. And this story is about one of the lessons, some clarity that Mia helped me achieve one day while she was visiting. Mia was my roller coaster buddy in the spring and the fall, my water park buddy in the summer, and my ski buddy in the winter time. In between seasons, we'd have to find something to do, and on this particular Sunday, we were at my place watching movies. Our favorite at the time was Peter Pan, because we liked having that swashbuckling sword fight at the end of the movie. I had to be Captain Hook. She got to be Peter Pan, and we enjoyed that little sword fight that we had at the end of the movie every time we watched it. We were sitting on the couch, enjoying the movie, when she stopped and said, "Pop, I've got to go potty." I said, "Okay, Mia." And I stopped the video. She went running for the bathroom, and I said, "Honey, do you need any help?" She looked at me with disgust and said, "Pop, I'm a big girl now. I don't need any help going potty." Into the bathroom, and the door closed. And I said, great opportunity to relax a little bit until she comes back. Unfortunately, the door came flying open, and she was dancing around outside of the door going, "Pop, Pop, I can't get my skirt off." I know that little teepee dance. And I had to go running over there to give her a hand. I went over, unbuttoned her skirt, and she took a step for the bathroom, not realizing her skirt was still around her ankles, and she launched herself into the side of the toilet, face first. I have never heard such a scream. It would wake the dead. I gasped, she screamed, and I scooped her up into my arms. She was crying so hard, I thought she was going to hyperventilate. Quickly, I had to think, what can I do to fix this? And into the kitchen for a towel and an ice pack. We sat on the couch while I held the towel and the ice pack on her face. She cried for 45 minutes while I sat there and held her, just comforting her. And when she finished crying, I looked at her and I said, "Mia, are you going to be all right?" And she said, "Yes, Pop, I'm fine, but I'd like to go home and see my mommy." I said, "Honey, I can understand that. You've had a really tough afternoon." We collected up all her things, and we headed down to the car. I put her in her car seat in the back seat, got her all strapped in, and I hopped into the front seat, and I flipped the rearview mirror down so that I could see her sitting behind me with her pitiful little face, with the ice pack and the towel covering up her eye. And I must have frowned, because she looked at me through that mirror and she said, "Pop, are you sad?" I said, "Yes, Mia, I am sad today." And she said, "Pop, why are you sad?" I said, "Mia, you came over to my house and you got hurt. That's not what I expected today. It made me sad to see you get hurt, and I couldn't do anything about it." She paused. She thought for a minute, and in a very adult voice, she said, "Pop, sometimes kids get hurt, and there's nothing you can do about it." I said, "Yes, Mia, thank you for the clarity. sometimes accidents happen, and the only thing we can do is shed a tear, go home to mommy, and get a hug. Thank you.
Thank you, Rip. Sometimes it's amazing how little people can have such profound advice or conclusions, and that's a perfect example. Our next speaker is one of our newest members, Chris Tehan, and Chris is probably one of our bravest members because on a day's notice, he will volunteer to give a speech, which I would never do. But Chris has done it twice out of his 3 speeches. I know he said the day before, he told Carol, oh yeah, I'll give a speech tomorrow, and I'm sitting there thinking, he's crazy. But they're always great speeches, and very enjoyable to hear. So Chris is working on project number 3 from his Competent Communicator, Get to the Point, and it is titled, Are You Diversified? Chris?
Good evening. As Madam Toastmaster mentioned, my speech is entitled, Are You Diversified? When it comes to your investment or retirement portfolio, the key to long-term success is diversification amongst your investment holdings. Some people view diversification as holding just 10 stocks in their portfolio, while others view it as being necessary to hold 10 different asset classes in their portfolio. And by asset classes, I mean fixed income, international equities, real estate. Regardless of your definition or degree of diversification, the important point is that diversification is necessary to reduce the overall volatility of your portfolio relative to a portfolio of just a couple of different holdings, or worse yet, a single investment holding in your account. Not properly diversifying your portfolio can lead to unwanted and unnecessary volatility, or worse yet, the complete loss of investment value when holding a single stock that goes bankrupt. We all remember Enron, AIG, Lehman Brothers, and Bear Stearns. Too many people would just buy the stock of the company that they work for, which can be putting all their eggs in one basket. And this can lead to disaster if something happens to that company. Sometimes it pays off. Sometimes it works very well. People at Microsoft are very happy. But other times it can be a real issue. I'm going to explain to you how diversification works and why you should review your investment portfolio on a periodic basis to ensure it remains diversified relative to your appropriate risk tolerance and in line with your long-term objectives. Picture riding on a roller coaster at Kings Island when you were afraid or even just a little nervous of riding roller coasters. The more frequent and extreme the hills and valleys are, the more you want to get off of that roller coaster. In the case of investing, getting off of that roller coaster means going to cash. It means liquidating all your holdings. However, in order to reach your long-term investment goals, it is crucial that you do not panic and jump off that roller coaster and jump into the safety of those cash holdings. This is because it is very difficult to time the market, and you lose purchasing power, meaning by the effects of inflation, $1 in the future is worth less than $1 today. In short, this is a recipe for falling short on your long-term investment goals. In long-term investing, diversification lessens the effect of those peaks and valleys and provides a smoother, less frightful ride. Think of it as going from riding the beast at Kings Island to riding the junior beast. This doesn't mean that there won't be peaks and valleys and it won't be a smooth ride. However, it just means that there will be less of the extremes, so you'll be able to stay on that roller coaster and complete the ride. If properly allocated, you should be able to maximize your return given your appropriate level of risk tolerance versus non-diversified portfolios. So what is the key factor that leads to portfolio diversification? that key factor is correlation. Think of correlation as a degree to which two investment returns move together. If asset A, in a perfectly positive correlation, if two assets, asset A and asset B, have 100% positive correlation, or a correlation of +1, then the returns will move exactly in tandem. If asset A goes up 10% in a month's time, asset B will go up 10% in a month's time. Perfectly positive correlation. Conversely, if asset A and asset B have perfectly negative correlation, meaning they move in complete opposite directions of one another, they have a correlation of -1. So if asset A in a month's time goes up 10%, asset B's returns in that month's time goes down 10% instead of up 10%. Assets can have correlations relative to each other that are between +1 and -1. They can even be uncorrelated or completely uncorrelated altogether. In this case, if they have no correlation whatsoever, asset A goes up 10% in a month's time, and asset B returns 0, or it might return 5%, it might return -5%. There's no correlation. The goal of all of this is to combine assets in your portfolio that have lower correlations with one another. That way the investment holdings don't all move in tandem, especially when the market is crashing. You don't want your assets to all have perfectly positive correlation when the market is tanking. That's not a good thing. By some assets zigging while others are zagging, the overall portfolio will see less volatility. To reiterate, while you may be sacrificing some return through the proper diversification of your portfolio, you are more likely to be better off in the long run due to the fact that the volatility of your portfolio was more palatable to you and it kept you in the market and on track to meeting your long-term goals. I do want to stress that this whole conversation should be put in context relative to the level of risk tolerance, which is different for each individual. For example, the inclusion of emerging markets in person A's portfolio may be completely inappropriate in investor B's portfolio. These are things that should be worked out through the assistance of a trusted financial advisor if you're not comfortable doing them yourself. One thing to be concerned about in recent times is that correlations are rising, meaning asset classes are becoming more positively correlated. This is something that has occurred as global economies have happened over the past 5 or 10 years. Things are becoming more global, and therefore correlations are rising. It's becoming harder to diversify a portfolio. This is why people have started to introduce asset classes that before they would not have introduced into their portfolios. Things like alternative investments, emerging markets, frontier markets, things that were seen too risky before, but now are deemed essential to maintain that low correlation and that proper portfolio diversification. The other thing I wanted to mention is that it's important to have periodic reviews of your portfolio, at least annually. This is because as asset classes, sometimes asset classes are going up while other ones are going down, your portfolio's allocation ends up being out of whack over a year's time. So it's good to rebalance back to your long-term strategic asset allocation, at least annually, but sometimes people do it quarterly. In conclusion, diversification is the key to long-term success. Correlations amongst different asset classes are the driving force of this diversification. Please don't put all your eggs in one basket. Seek the help of a trusted advisor if you are uncomfortable with investing on your own. Watch out for rising correlations because they are happening. Ensure that you perform periodic portfolio reviews and do it at least yearly to make sure you stay on track to your long-term goals. And I hope that has provided clarity to you regarding your investment concerns. Thank you.
You definitely definitely brought clarity to the different types of correlations. That's an area that I need to do some more homework in. The second half of our meeting is the evaluation period. So we will have a team of evaluators that will give feedback, both critical and positive, to each of our speakers, and then we will have a general evaluator evaluate the whole flow of the meeting. Our general evaluator for today is Carol Klein.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our most welcome guests. Oh, we have some more guests come in? Oh, great. Very good. Okay. The thing that is different about Toastmasters than taking the communication class at college, one, it's more fun at Toastmasters. Two, you get feedback on what you did well and one or two things that you might be able to improve on. Now, some people think that if I dwell on my weaknesses, I will get better. I am of the opinion, like Marcus Buckingham said, that if you want to be excellent, you see what the excellent people are doing. You don't look to see the opposite, that people think the opposite of excellent is bad, and that you study the bad, you study the truant so that you can learn how to keep people in school. He says that you bad and you invert that, it's not bad. It isn't excellent, and we strive for excellence. So that's what our evaluators will do tonight. When they will evaluate the speech, they will use the sandwich method, telling what you did well, what you might improve your speech, and then what your strengths are. Sorry. The evaluator for Sheila will be Rick Barron. Rick can't read.
Thank you, Carol. Planning to change your life? I'm sure many of us in the audience and at home are planning to do just that as the calendar turned 2012. And thank you, Sheila, for a very appropriate message for the audience as well as all of us at this time. Sheila's goal was to use visual aids, 2 or more visual aids that were appropriate for the message in the audience, displayed correctly, and that wraps in all of the learnings that she has learned from her other speeches. Fabulous job, Sheila. You did an excellent job selecting a topic that was appropriate for all of us and selecting visual aids that really helped cement what you were trying to get across for us. And that was 1 or 2 or 3 resolutions every single day. Pull out the sneakers, use a smaller plate, some very easy things. Read a book. And the thing that I think was even really powerful was the visual aid that wasn't a visual aid, and that was the reference to the credit card. Because it really would have been too small for most of us to see, but we all thought about a credit card in our wallets when you mentioned the credit card. So I thought that was an appropriate use of a visual aid that wasn't even really here, because it got us all to think about the credit card. Each visual aid was very appropriate for the point that you were trying to make, and you did a great job of holding them up, holding them out, making sure that everyone in the audience and out there in TV land could get clarity on the aid that you were using. I do have 1 or 2 things that might help you improve this speech if you give it again. And the first one was, look at the opening. Your opening was, like many of you, when I think something like, Happy New Year! All of us associate resolutions with the phrase, Happy New Year! And that may have kind of grabbed us and brought us in a little bit more than something like many of you, I really didn't kind of catch where you were going with that. The second one was you had to reach down, and I'm breaking the rule here. You had to reach down to deal with the visual aids, and you kind of struggled a little bit with the bag on 1 or 2 occasions. So my other suggestion to improve this speech would be to have a little side table or something like that where you could literally just kind of bend down easily, gently, and grab them and really not lose focus. You used great body language as you went through the speech, showing us things like the little box and putting on your shoes and walking. So you did great body language that way. Your word choice was good. You did the little, I guess it wasn't a quote from Wayne Dyer, but you did reference some research that you had done with Wayne Dyer. Overall, fabulous speech, very appropriate, and really helpful to us to think about how to make 2012 our best year ever. Thank you. Cheryl?
Thank you, Rick, for that uplifting evaluation.
Thank you. The word of the day, clarity. I don't know if it's a coincidence today or if it was Rick and other speakers. I would say clarity was definitely the centerpiece and one single word that could explain Rick's speech today. He was so clear. One of the best things I liked was his opening. He held and grabbed the attention of the audience immediately by posing them a question. And you set up the stage really well to launch into your story. Conversational language was one of the best things. You used a lot of direct conversational statements in your story, and that kind of helped to take the audience right there with you, right next, standing to you and observing what you are saying. So the story was really well colored using conversational language. This is one of your strengths. You always have clear pauses. That kind of helps the audience to receive just the previous line you said and kind of go through that in their minds once again and kind of imagine the picture of what you were doing there with the story. That's one of your biggest strengths, I see. You also had a good highs and lows of the voice, and certainly that was also complemented with your body movements and body language. They were really pairing up really well. Well, in conclusion, I would say the top bid item in your language was the conversational language complemented with your body movements. It was an excellent speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Shankar. You listened well. Our next evaluator will be Dean Wagers, evaluating Kretz's speech. Let us welcome Dean.
Cheryl. Kirsten did a wonderful job. Your third speech, the topic was a very complex topic. It can be very dry. If you have no idea about what investing are or what any of the terminology is that you used, you would be totally lost. But listening to you speak gave me a desire to hear more about investing. There is no doubt that if you get off of the roller coaster, so to speak, you cash out, you will not be making any future money. And investing is all about generating wealth for yourself in the future. You asked me to keep an ear out for your ahs and ums. I didn't catch one ah or You weren't too fast. You weren't too slow. You were very easy to listen to. Your voice inflection perhaps could use a little more or a little less at times. You did have eye contact with a lot of the folks. You apparently are very well versed in investing. I assume that's your job. I think you were very confident because of your knowledge of the subject. When you started out, you were just a bit nervous. It showed a little bit. You would begin to say a sentence and have a little chop and repeat. It shows your nervousness. Your third speech, I thought you did fairly well without looking at your notes. And notice I heard that Rick gave you a little tip on sliding the paper. That's a good tip. And as you get to your 10th speech, I'm sure you'll do well without using any notes at all. One thing that I might suggest to you is not to pick such a complex topic. You only have a certain amount of time to get your point across, and you could have easily gave a dissertation for at least an hour with a slideshow, with the definition of all of the terms that you used. But I definitely liked the visual aid that you give me in riding a roller coaster. I love to ride roller coasters. Any chance I go to ride roller coasters. But if I jumped off in the middle of the roller coaster, I would get hurt. But I enjoy all the peaks and the valleys, and in investing, that's definitely something you have to stay on the ride with to make it to the end. So I think you did a wonderful job. Keep it up. Congratulations on your third speech.
Thank you, Dean. And I would like to commend you for doing the one thing that in Toastmasters, if we're really good at evaluating, we have sex before, during, and after the meeting. Speaker, evaluator, exchange of information. And sex sells. And Dean asked Chris if there was anything besides what the book has for that you evaluate on, anything that he needed especially, and I liked that. I thought that was one good thing. One of the things that I am trying to learn, when you're singing in the choir, you do not put your head down to read the notes. You put your eyes down, and I noticed that we are putting our heads down to glance at our notes rather than shifting our eyes down. So that's one thing that all of us, not only the evaluators, but the speakers, because evaluators are generally reading the speech out of the manual. Shift your eyes down to look at your notes, leave your head up. And I like that he pointed out when you said about tanking, that's jargon for your business, and I'm presuming tanking means it's going down, not up. But if I'm not in your business, so he did point that out, that you had some things that if you didn't know the financial business, you may not know what you were talking about. That I might not know what you were trying to say. I liked Sheila gave the objectives of her speech, so we know exactly what he was trying to do in his speech. I thought that was very good. With clarity, she did that. And we also count the ahs and the ums and the uses of the word of the day. How many people use clarity? So let us welcome our guest, Frank Downey, and see how well he listens. Yes.
Thank you, Carol. Okay. For Michelle used clarity 2 times. I didn't see any ah or ums. Dave, he said 2 times. I didn't hear clarity. Mary, Dean, I didn't get anything. Sheila did well. Rick, I did had clarity 4 times. However, when you did the eval, you did a Chris did have clarity, and then Dean, I did get Dean on a or a when he did the eval. Carol had clarity as well. He said that, and that's pretty much it. Oh.
We return the call back to the Toastmaster.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you very much. Well, I didn't tell you that beforehand, so I apologize for not letting you know. We will now bring up the timer to one of the things at Toastmasters you learn to speak with a allotted time frame. Have you ever been to those meetings where they're supposed to be 1 hour and an hour and a half later you're still sitting there in that meeting? If you learn to express your thoughts in a given time, that will not happen. We won't be wasting money at a job. So let us welcome Mary to tell us how we did.
Thank you very much. Well, everyone, this was a great meeting. It really was. Now I'm going to start off on the word power. It was 1 minute, clarity. Word when you gave the word clarity. I'm not saying that right. And Tabletopics, Shankar, you have 55 seconds. Dave, 1 minute and 1 second. I don't even want to talk about myself. 30 seconds. And Dean, 40 seconds. So you beat me by 10. And the speakers, Sheila, you were a 5 to 7 minute speech, and it was 6 minutes and 10 seconds. Rick, a 4 to 6, 5 minutes and 20 seconds. And Chris, which yours was 5 to 7 minutes, 8 minutes and 47 seconds. A little bit over it, yeah. In the evaluators, Rick, you're 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Shankar, 1 minute and 31 seconds. And Dean, 2 minutes and 54 seconds. Carol, of the general evaluator, you are 3 minutes and 25 seconds. And the grammarian report was 44 seconds. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary. It may seem like timer is an easy job, but it's one of the more difficult jobs because sometimes I get so engrossed in the speeches that I forgot to get them the red light, or the green light, or the yellow light. We will now return control. I will return control of the meeting to our Toastmaster, Michelle Hennekes.
Thank you, Carol. And thank you for bringing clarity to what your SCX reference was, or we might have a lot of unexpected guests at our next meeting. So what a fantastic meeting today. Appreciate the large turnout. Hopefully several of you stayed tuned in at home. And make it your daily resolution to think about joining Toastmasters if you haven't already. And I'm going to turn it back over to our president. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Let's have another round of applause for our Toastmaster for today. Thank you, Michelle. Our next meeting will be Saturday, January 21st, 9 o'clock at the Anderson Community Center, 7850 Mile Road. We start at 9 o'clock, and we would love to have you come and visit us at the studio. We also have our spring speech contest coming up on our Saturday, February 18th meeting, and this will be the humorous speech contest and evaluation contest, or is it Tabletopics? It's humorous speech and Tabletopics. No? No, international speech is in the fall. Oh, it's in the spring? Oh, well, you can tell I've been away for a month. It's the international speech and the evaluation contest that we will be having February 18th, again, here at the Anderson Community Television Studio. I want to thank our camera assistants today, G and Dave Kramer. Thank you for helping us out with operating cameras. I want to, again, welcome all of our guests that are here today with us, and I hope that you will come back and visit us again. If you aren't currently a member of a Toastmasters Club, I'd hope that you would at least consider us among the clubs in the running for your membership. I would like to remind our club officers that this Saturday we will be having Toastmaster Leadership Institute at Cincinnati Financial Center, and that will be from 8:30 to 1 p.m. This is an excellent opportunity to meet other Toastmasters and also learn more about the roles that you have as a club officer. Additionally, the rest of you that are members of Club 9523 TV Toastmasters, you're welcome to attend Toastmaster Leadership Institute as well. It's not restricted just to club officers. Again, Happy New Year to everyone. I hope to see you here at our next meeting, which will be January 21st. Those of you looking in from home, I hope that you will watch us again and consider coming to visit us, see what we actually do here in the studio. I'm going to adjourn the Monday, January 5th evening meeting of TV Toastmasters Club 9523.